It's good morning in Spartanburg, South Carolina, the day after the 4th of July. My two little dogs are finally settling down and accepting the fact that twice a year bang bangs go off all night long, but it does rattle their cage. I imaged all last night and the night before, and I'm getting ready to process the images, and I need a set of flats. I did make some adjustments to the optical train, and for that reason I need to add some new flats, and so let's get started. I'm going to share my screen, and let me pull it up. And you should be seeing, I'm going to have to hang on one second while I close some boxes that are visible to me but not to you, because hang on one second, and primarily because it's part of my streaming software, and they get in my way, but you can't see them. Okay, the software that I'm going to use to set up my flats is Sequence Generator Pro. It's also the acquisition software, and first thing that I do, and it's because it's in my setup, is I bring up the Pegasus Ultimate Power Box, and that's a box that is located, I can show you probably better. Let me see if I can't see if it works this way. Okay, this blue box on this closest refractor is the Pegasus Ultimate Power Box, and all the data lines, all the data cables plug USB 2, and it has both USB 2 and USB 3 ports, and there's plenty of them to plug in the focuser, the dew heater, the camera, the filter, the guide camera, and actually I have an abundance extra because I used the USB ports on the ASI 1600 Pro cameras to plug in the guide scope and the filter wheel, which makes it convenient. But at any rate, this is the Pegasus Ultimate Power Box, and then on the other side, one side's for data and the other side's for power, so that what you have coming out of the kit to your power supply and your computer is one data line and one power line, and it makes my cable management better. It's certainly not perfect, and I still have issues I have to go out and deal with from time to time with both of my permanent kits, but it's better, and I really need somebody that really does know what they're doing in astrophotography to show me even more efficient and better ways to tie my cables up. But this Pegasus has helped me a good bit, and it takes care of my data and my power, and I rarely ever have any issues from it. Plus, it offers a lot of other bells and whistles. It tells you, it actually automatically controls the dew heaters and won't turn them on until it has till its sensor, which measures the relative humidity and the temperature, determines that dew's about to occur. And the best I can figure out, what it does is it'll put a picture of the temperature, or graphically. I can see the temperature and I can see the relative humidity, and when the two converge, that's when you can pretty much count on moisture gathering on your lawn and on your gear if you're not prepared for that. So that's one nice feature of this Pegasus Power Box that's a plus for in my consideration. It also gives you a lot of information that I really don't know much about. You can look at your data lines, and if you know what you're looking at, and I don't, you can, of course, I can recognize the filter wheel and the ultimate power box, and I don't know what a portable SSD T5 is, but I assume it's my SSD drive that's plugged into my laptop. And I suppose I don't know what the echo is, but all of that is somehow or another. And there's my camera, the 1600 mm cool, and the easy camera evidently, well, I don't know, that must be the Lodestar X2, the Starlight Express Lodestar guide camera. But that's what it is, I suppose. But I don't really know for sure exactly what I'm looking at. And then on the power graphs, it does give you voltage and amperage. So you can watch the current as it's being used throughout the night. You can configure this for different rigs, but I'm a real strong proponent of the ultimate power box because it's really been a dawdle to use and easy for me to set up. Right now it's 91 degrees outside and the relative humidity is 43% and the dew point 65%, or 65.3 degrees Fahrenheit. So when the temperature, if it should drop to that, according to this system, dew is going to start occurring. And the current amperage that I'm using is 1.8 amps. Voltage is 12.3. So it's kind of, you know, if you know what you're looking at, you could probably spot a problem if one was developing, but I don't. So anyway, maybe over time I'll figure it out. But we're going to take some flats, and because I didn't move my cameras, I rotated them some on both kits. I'm going to need to take flats today, and so I need them before I can start processing the images that I took the last 2 nights. Let me get back to this screen and we will set it up. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change this label here to flats, and not just flats, but flats underscore, and this is the Vixen 625 telescope. And the reason why I add this to this is that I'm also going to be taking flats with my other permanent kit, and I'm not sure if let me turn this on. I'll come back in a minute after it's fired up. Should be logging on. I've had some problems with it logging on. It's failed again. It's my Wi-Fi, and I might go fool with it. But I have 2 kits outside, and let's go back to my setup. But I'm going to label that flat Vixen 625, and that's 625 millimeter, and it just reminds me that these flats are going to be associated with this particular setup. I'm going to do that again. I'm going to browse to my SSD drive, which is a portable 1 terabyte drive, and again last night and the night before I imaged IC1318. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new folder, and this is going to be 7521 and underscore flats and Vixen 625, and that will be where I'm going to save these flats. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take flats for both L, R, G, and B, but also HA, O3, and S2. So these are flats, and they need to be correctly identified by using the setup available with Sequence Generator Pro, so I am labeling these flat by pulling these down. And I wish that the creators and software writers for Sequence Generator Pro would also add flat darks, and because I've been taking those as well. I'm going to take them in Loom, red, green, blue, HA, O3, and S2. Now I'm going to even further put a suffix that's going to appear on the labeling, the naming of the file, that will make it absolutely clear to me, which I need, which is what. And I'm a little anal about this. I don't really have to do this, but I do need all the help I can have to keep them separate, particularly when I'm doing flats for two kits at the same time. Now, it's already set the exposure for my flats, but I'm going to show you how I use the Flats Wizard. I'm going to zero all these out, and I'm going to take 50 flats in each with each filter. Before I went live, I went ahead and I connected the camera and the filter wheel. I do not need the electronic focuser, nor do I need the mount for this. And I turned on the focuser, and I also began cooling it. Now, I'm not absolutely positive. I've heard both points of view made, that you should cool your camera, and or you don't need to cool your camera when you're taking flats. But the one thing I know that you don't do is you don't make any changes to your focus or your optical train. You don't move the camera in any way, shape, or form from the night of imaging or the nights of imaging. And so you leave that intact, because what we want to capture are the dust and smudges and junk that's accumulated on the optical train. It accumulates on the camera sensor and on the reducer elements, and I'm really not too sure that the stuff that collects on the elements on the telescope, they're so far away from the sensor, I'm not so sure they pose a real optical issue, but if it does, they're removed when you take flats. But you just don't make any changes to anything, and when you take your flats. Now, I'm going to use a program that's available with Sequence Generator Pro called the Flats Calibration Wizard. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the current sequence, because I already, reason why I'm doing that, if it saves, there it is, there's my option, current sequence, that's this sequence right here. And I'm going to only take flats at 1:1 binning, because since I've owned ASI cameras, I've never shot any images where I did any binning. I do with my CCD addict cameras, but I just haven't binned, and I don't know that there is an advantage. And for those out there who may have, I would like to know why you would do that, because I don't. I'm going to set the target mean to 20,000. Tolerance, it will solve for the flat with a target mean of 20,000 within a 500 ADU tolerance. My minimum exposure, I'm just going to leave it 0. Maximum for the ASI is 1200, although we'll never take a 1200 second. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start this, and I'm going to watch my histogram over here. It's going to take a 5-second exposure first to get a baseline, and then that's not too far off. Oh, crazy, I've screwed up. Alright, and when you screw up, you screw up. I'm going to have to stop this. I forgot an important part. I use a flat panel. I wonder if I ever logged on. No, what's going on out here? Well, I have a flat panel sitting on top of the I don't know why it's failing. I'm going to have to well, one reason is I don't have a Wi-Fi signal. Okay, well, that needs fixing. But I use a spica flat, and you can add in your purchase the dimmer switch. And what this does is, now I've added the 625 ASI. This is the ADU, and I'm doing LRGBS. And when I add the panel to it, I have the option of raising the luminosity. I can raise it up to 1,000, and I do that for the some filters like narrowband, raise the luminosity. But right now, I'm going to keep it as dim as possible, and we're going to. And the light is turned on out there, so it plugs into the ultimate power box, the USB device from the Spica dimmer or the Spica flat, and works pretty nicely. I'll put a link to that website on this somewhere on the YouTube channel. Never have done that before, but I'll find it and figure it out. So let's start again. And you just kind of have to wait this through, but it's taken another 5-second photo, and it's going to move this histogram. Right now it's soft for 2008. It's suggesting that we have a 3-minute and 37-second flat in order to get the histogram where I want it, which is at about 20,000 ADU target mean. The red is a 4.26 second. And let's kind of move this away, and let's get rid of that. And you can see some of the stuff that's on the smudges and stuff that's on the gear. One great big huge one that I got to figure out how to get off. This is the green filter it's working on now, and it's not the only one. There's some other smudges, but this has to be on the sensor. And the only reason why is that this is also showing up on my loom, and I'm going to see if this is going to show up on the it's still solving for the green. It hadn't hit it yet. It's at 16,000 ADU at 26 seconds. Okay, it solved that, and at 32 seconds. So we're going to do the blue filter, and lo and behold, you see that same spot. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. We're going to bring this to a conclusion, and I'm going to head out to my kit, and I'm going to remove the camera, and because I know that's where the mess is, and I'm going to redo these flats again. We'll have to, because I'm going to get my blower, and I'm going to try to remove whatever it is that's causing havoc. And this either is on my sensor or it's on my reducer. It's on one or the other, but it isn't on the filter wheel, so I can leave the filters alone. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and sign off, go pull this apart. But I think you've got the picture. By the way, when I'm done, what I'll do is actually I'll go ahead and run this until it's finished doing the LRGBs. I'll bring this back up and I'll show you how cool this is in just 1 second. It's got 45 seconds on the blue, and still at well, it's trying a minute now. It's going to take it a second to because the histogram is still shifted too far to the left for what I like. Some folks shoot for the histogram to be in the middle. If you did that, you're going to be looking for a target mean more of 2800 ADU. But I like it about right here, and so we were successful. I have a target mean with a 64-second flat image. I have a target mean of 968, and what I'm probably going to do when I come back and reshoot the flats is I'm going to raise the luminosity to say 500, and I'll show you what that does. In the meantime, I'm going to select to save, and it's got flats 625, and when I do that and I close, then all I have to do now is go light, flat, and it'll populate it with the right time. I just have to turn on my flats again. And you remember the blue was about 65 seconds. We'll go to light, go back and hit the flat, and there's the 64 whatever. So it will populate this, and then you can go ahead and run the sequence, and it will take your flats starting with the loom, and it'll cycle through changing the filter as you go, and it makes it really easy to get your flats. If you don't have a spica flat, it's fine, because you can use t-shirts, and you sometimes have to fold them, triple fold them when you're doing these in the daylight, because the brightness outside can be almost too bright, and your flats are so short they're not usable. I'm a believer that your flats need to be at more than 1 second, and this was somewhat proven to me by Adam Block, who was looking at some of my flats, and I thought by just using this flat panel and higher levels of luminosity, that the shorter I could take them, the faster I could get them done. And if my histogram was where I wanted it, what difference would it make? But it does make a difference. So for that reason, that's exactly what I do. But I'm going to show you what the convenience of it, because I can sit inside and control this. I'm going to go back to the flats calibration, and I'm going to go back to current sequence. These are all the profiles I have. We're using different cameras and different telescopes, and I'm going to just do the blue, and I'm going to set this again to 20,000 ADU, 500, 112, and I've moved the luminosity. Let's move it to 800. So I've raised it a good bit, and we're just going to take the blue. And here's a 5-second exposure. And it's almost right on target. So 4 seconds, 4.53 seconds is how long I would image by setting this to 800. And there's my flat with all my junk. But I got to fix this because you can't flat this out. I know for sure that in my experience anyway with my processing, which is, I consider myself an advanced beginner. The only reason why I add advanced, although I've been astro imaging for about 8 years, I can count on 2 hands how many clear sky nights I have every year. And so I really don't have that much experience. I watch a lot of videos, but I'm really just a neophyte doing these things. But I do know that I cannot flat this I cannot calibrate this out of my my light frames. I will have this to contend with, and I don't want to. So I'm going to go fix that. I'm going to come back and retake my flats. And but I think you got the idea of how Sequence Generator Pro has written some tremendous software to help you do this. And then when you have a flat panel that you can control from your computer, the luminosity from your computer, whoever makes it. I'm not a Spica dimmer, Spica flat huge. I mean big. I mean I like it. It works great for me. I also have another flat panel that I got from Germany, Gerdman. Can't think of his last name, but at any rate, that was my first flat panel. But you manually have to take that apart and add layers of plastic filters to it, and I just got so tired of doing that I went ahead and got this Spica flat, and I love it. Okay, well, that's it for right now. Y'all have a great rest of the day, and clear skies to everybody. And if you benefited from this, click like, and if you subscribe, I do a lot of live imaging. In fact, every time I image, I'm going to start going live, and so you'll see the best, the worst, and most of the time the worst. But you'll see gear not connect, and ports not activate, and plate solving not working, and my struggles in trying to get it fixed, and a PhD going in every which direction but the right one. And so if you're interested in seeing fail after fail after fail, then you definitely want to sign on to this comic channel and watch me mess things up. But at any rate, this is pretty self-deprecating, and I shouldn't have probably done that. My wife will say you're better than that. She has great faith in me. Have a great day.